be resettled in Australia. You will never live in Australia.
Islam is a disease.
Terrorists these days are Muslims.
This is about Australia's national security.
The final solution:
17 detention centres.
And banning the burqa.
Stop the boats.
Go back to the country from which you've originally come.
Manus and Nauru are hellholes.
I think it's probably the worst policy that Australia's had.
It's a terrible tragedy that we did this.
End this nightmare soon.
I spent the whole of 2014-15 on Nauru and Manus Island as well. The reason I went there is because as a psychologist I knew that that was a place that a lot of people would be persecuted and punished, and unnecessarily. And so, while not being complicit with anything that happened, I was there to try and make their lives just a little bit more pleasant, a little bit more livable, if you like. The living conditions on both islands were extremely poor. We're talking about people living in old vinyl tents, dirt floors, in 45-degree heat with no air conditioning or nothing but a fan if they were lucky. The Australian government was not prepared to make this a place where people could feel comfortable or relaxed or at ease. It was a very dangerous place, and people didn't have enough drinking water, they didn't have enough sanitation, they didn't have enough food. It was a place where the situation they were escaping from continued to go on. We created the same circumstances for them. We had a lot of desperate people self-harming every day. Even the children were sewing their lips together, they were swallowing stones and screws and washing detergent and whatever in a bid to get to a medical facility. And on any given day you could have 30 or 40 critical incidents.
I just think it diminishes all of us when our government thinks that that's what our people want, because I really don't think our people want to treat other fellow human beings worse than they would animals.
When Australians get to know these people, they can be all the views that they've been encouraged to have about refugees can break down, and that shows that we can campaign and change people's ideas. In the 1990s, Pauline Hanson used to campaign on a racist platform, but the people she was targeting back then was Asians and Aboriginals, and she didn't mention Muslims. This time round, there's much more Islamophobia. Is much more part of the rhetoric of One Nation and far right parties, and I think what has fed that is the politics at the centre.
I think it's really sad that we see some of the big political parties using fear to try to win election campaigns. And what we've seen over many, many years now is the gradual dehumanising of people who are fleeing atrocities or persecution and seeking safety in our beautiful country. And it's just morally wrong. And I am appalled that people and politicians have politicised it to try to bolster their own failing popularity, because it actually hurts real people.
Both the coalition government and the Labor opposition have been bipartisan in their view that we don't want asylum seekers coming to our shores in boats, and that's been the situation now since Kevin Rudd in 2012.
The mainstream parties have, they got involved in the so-called war on terror, and there was lots of fear-mongering about terrorism and Muslims and things like that, and I think that has encouraged the far right, and so I think that's why you can see why it becomes a disease. It sort of spreads if you are tolerant of it, and you've got to oppose every little thing.
It's heartbreaking that our government is using Australian taxpayer money to just wreak havoc on people's lives when they should be welcoming human beings to this nation, saying, yes, come and be part of our wealthy nation, come and share in our prosperity and our safety, come and make us stronger and richer and more culturally diverse, come and be part of our family.
They're beautiful people, you know, they love their children like everybody else. You know, some of them are children. They just want to have a life, you know, and when you meet them, they're just like anybody else. So they don't deserve to be demonised by the government the way they have been demonised.
My experience in Nauru is very painful and agony. Seeing the kids sick physically and mentally, seeing the kids suicide, seeing our friends dead. I got stressed, depressed. I lost hope. I lost my dream. I lost my health. I lost everything. How long I have been in Nauru was 2 years in Nauru detention offshore and 2 years on onshore detention on Brisbane, totally 4 years. What I feel to be in detention, I'm broken physically, still I feel it. It is the deepest pain ever in my life. It's the pain that never go forever, that even you can't express, even you can't explain to anyone.
All those stories are like a straw that eventually will break the camel's back, you know, and I think it's been those stories that have helped shift public opinion on this issue.
Always call out racism and always try to practice love and compassion in your daily lives. If people vote for parties that reflect their values, then you've got a better chance of those values being represented in Parliament. But perhaps to say it a better way, I think if people vote for compassion and they vote for human decency, then that sends a really strong message to those other parties that currently have terrible policies.
I'd like the hope in the future to be that we have a real shake-up in the two-party system such that somebody else might take a bit of leadership and change this dynamic now. I'd be very pleased to see it if it happens.
It's very important for all my friends to get a hope. I mean, we don't have to lose anymore. Enough is enough. 6 years, it's enough. It is enough for 6 years. They should have a life. They should have freedom. They should have to connect or to reunite their families. We just lost our dream. We just lost our lovers, families. We miss peace. That's why it's important to close Manus and Nauru.
Standing at your border, I am a refugee. Oh, have mercy on me. I am a refugee running from the war. I am a refugee. Oh, have mercy on me. I am a refugee standing at your border. I am a refugee. Oh, have mercy on me. I have lost everything, my family, community. I have no future in my country. And I